among other things, the President's export initiative that he hopes will grow our economy by some 2 million jobs. He comes to his position with a wealth of experience in international trade and in government as well as in the private sector. And so we are very lucky to have him here this morning. He will make brief opening remarks, and then we will have presentations from 3 experts who are here. We will have a presentation by the local office of the Export Administration, Shakir Farsa. Shakir, am I pronouncing that correctly? Shak, I'm sorry, thank you. We also will have a presentation by Tony Corsini of the Small Business Administration, who is en route, and we hope that she will get here. She's experiencing travel difficulties as a result of the weather, one of the reasons why we're starting late. And finally, Tom Cummings from the Export-Import Bank is here, and he will make the presentation. And Tom, thank you very much for being here. So our goal here is to provide information that we hope will be helpful to you in terms of expanding the markets that are available to you for you to sell your products. The single greatest problem in our economy, most economists agree, despite everything that you read, is a lack of aggregate demand. One of the ways to address that aggregate demand, that absence of aggregate demand, is to find new markets that are available to our small businesses so that they may bring their products to market and continue to hopefully expand. So with that, let me introduce the Undersecretary, and then we will go to our presentations from our 3 experts, not to suggest that our Undersecretary is not an expert. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Congressman Bishop. It is great to be here. I want to thank you for making me feel at home. I'm a native Floridian, and this time of year in Florida, it rains like this every single day. So thank you very much. We went above and beyond. Congressman, thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm pretty sure I don't need to say this to this group, but I want to say it anyway, is that Congressman Bishop represents this district so well. Particularly, he is a tireless advocate for small business and for manufacturing. And it's a pleasure to work with him in Washington. For me to say it's a pleasure to do anything in Washington is a big deal. But working with Congressman Bishop really is a pleasure, in part because I'm a big advocate for business. I think I have the best job in the world. I love public service and I love business. And so I'm very happy when I can find a fellow advocate, particularly for small businesses and for manufacturing. So thank you for everything that you do, not only for your district, but for our nation. And there's a hometown boy of sorts that works in my shop from Long Island. Does an outstanding job for us. I am very, very lucky that he's a part of our team, and he's with me today. I'm not sure where, oh, there he is, right in front of me. Long Island boy, Brian Irwin. Stand up, Brian, so everybody can see you. I also just met a gentleman who is part of a group that volunteers their time, works very, very hard. The organizations work very, very hard throughout the United States. He's part of the New York District Export Council. He tells me he's been there so long he's now Chairman Emeritus, which means that he's been providing service to us for a long, long time. That's Spencer Ross. And Spencer, thank you for your service. The District Export Councils are volunteers, small business, folks that are small businesses that have been involved in exporting, economic development, experts, academics, folks that know something that can lend a hand to other businesses that want to export. And we work very closely with them around the country, so we're very happy that they're represented here. Thank you for being here. And I get to give speeches all over the country, all over the world. But there are folks on my team that are in the trenches every single day. and they work hard for you. They work hard to help you find new markets. If you've never exported before, they help you dip your toe in the water and get out there and try that. And I'm very, very proud of them. And you have some of the best that we have anywhere in the country right here, and I want to recognize them. Shaker, who you'll be hearing from in just a little while, that'll provide you some detail, and Tanya Cole, who's there. Can you two stand up for a second and be recognized? And I want to acknowledge our friends from the Export-Import Bank. Thank you very much for joining us today. We could not do our job without them. They went through a bit of a fight to get reauthorized. Congressman Bishop fought hard on their behalf, as well as others, and I can tell you that we would not be as successful at promoting American exports abroad without the Export-Import Bank. So I'm glad you got reauthorized. I'm glad you're here. I know you got a lot of good information to provide this group. And the SBA will be joining us. I don't know if they're here yet, but I want to acknowledge them. They play an important role, and you'll hear about some of the services that they offer. As I said, there's not always a lot of good things that I can say that I get pleasure of in Washington, D.C. It's pretty hot there, and I'm not talking about the weather. But more importantly, I'm happy to be out of Washington and here because it gives me a chance to meet you, to meet business owners, and particularly business owners that have an opportunity to do good things, not only in this community, but around the world. One of the great privileges that I have of serving in my role is that I get to meet American entrepreneurs. And even with the challenges that we have all experienced in recent years, the spirit of the American entrepreneur remains strong. The ideals remain bold, and their determination remains firm. Their products and services continue to represent quality and excellence. And I know this because as I travel around the world, I see that products stamped with Made in America continue to be in great demand. And this provides us with a clear opportunity for American businesses, both large and small. And we're here today to talk about how to make those opportunities through export. And make no mistake, these opportunities are there, they're real, and they are extraordinary. I want you to just consider a few facts. And I'm not going to throw a lot of statistics at you, but I do want to share a few. 95% of the world's consumers, 95%, live outside the United States. And according to the International Monetary Fund, 80% of the world's growth between now and 2015 will happen outside the borders of the U.S. And roughly 80% of the world's purchasing power is outside the United States. So when you take those facts together, the benefits are clear. You have more customers, more exposure to growth markets, and more access to purchasing power. And whenever a business makes a sale, it has a ripple effect throughout the community. A sale abroad means revenue coming back to that business right here at home. And that money can be used for expansion or for hiring workers. It strengthens our communities around the country, it strengthens our cities, and eventually it strengthens our nation as a whole. That's why President Obama in 2010 launched the National Export Initiative, and it set as a goal, this initiative, of doubling exports by the end of 2014. Now, the President has long recognized that exports fuel growth and create jobs. And thus far, the NEI, as we call it, has been an absolute success. Last year alone, exports reached $2.1 trillion in total value, and that is a record for the United States. All of these exports supported nearly 10 million jobs, which is an increase of 1.2 million jobs since 2009. Now this is progress, but we have got to keep the momentum going. And that is what makes being here today so exciting. New York is the home of some of the most innovative and productive businesses in the global marketplace. New York products and services are a big hit overseas. And last year alone, New York export shipments of merchandise totaled nearly $85 billion. If your business is not part of that success, we want you to be part of that success. And if you are part of that success, we want you to have an even bigger share by expanding to new markets. And that's because, as the President said, when you succeed, when your businesses succeed, America succeeds. So today, my colleagues are going to outline ways that we can help you do just that. Be successful in the global marketplace. I have every confidence that today's talk will lead to export successes for you tomorrow. So I look forward to working with all of you in boosting our exports and in strengthening our economy, and it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much for having me here this morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. We will now hear from Shaker Farsa, who runs the Long Island Export Assistance Center in Mineola, which is a division of Secretary Sanchez's responsibilities in Washington. Shaker.
Thank you very much, Congressman Bishop. It's a pleasure to be here this morning, and it's a great pleasure to be here with my great leader, Under Secretary Sánchez. It's great to see him. Let me just tell you a little bit about my organization and what we can do to help you export. I work for the United States Commercial Service, which is part of the International Trade Administration, the organization that Mr. Sánchez heads in Washington, D.C. We are the international business development arm of the federal government. That is, we help companies find pre-qualified partners, reps, distributors, sales agents, importers, whatever works best for your business model throughout the world through our global network of U.S. embassies and consulates. We have offices all over the world in close to 80 countries. These offices are staffed by locally hired industry specialists who know all there is to know about doing business in that country. And the offices are run by a cadre of Foreign Service officers like my colleague Tanya Cole, and their main focus is to help American companies get established and to sell in those markets internationally. Because after all, in today's world of global communications, you can email anybody, anywhere in the world, you can communicate with anybody, but the big question is, who are they? They could have the most wonderful website in the world, and they could be a garage operation for all you know. So because we have a global footprint, we have a great value add in terms of helping you find the partners that you need. And we are the U.S. government, and we are a public service. There are several ways in which we can help American companies export. One is information. My colleagues overseas write and update hundreds of market research reports every year. And these reports are posted for free on our website, export.gov. If you go there, you can download industry reports and country commercial guides, which are business guides on how to do business in that country. List the local regulations, both the laws, the major players, how the economy is doing, what the best prospects are for certain industries. So if you have a particular product, say it's a telecommunications product, and you think you might want to sell to Saudi Arabia, you can download the country commercial guide for Saudi Arabia and see whether telecommunications is the best prospect. And our offices identify the top 10 best prospects in each country, so you can get a quick look and see whether it would be a good fit for your office. The second thing that we do is we do advertising. You can advertise with us in a couple of ways. We publish a magazine through a contractor called Commercial News USA. We publish for free and disseminate 40,000 copies for free every year. And if your product is easily recognizable via photograph and a short summary, then I would urge you to explore advertising with our magazine, Commercial News USA. I have at least one client who's built almost their entire export-related business around Commercial News USA over 20 years. It's a great way just to throw the net out and see what bites. Another way that you can advertise with us is called our Featured U.S. Exporter Program. If you would like, you can advertise on the websites of our overseas offices. Let's say you're looking for opportunities in China, for example. You can advertise on the U.S. Commercial Service U.S. Embassy website for China in Chinese with a blurb back to your website. And that's another great way that you can stick your toe in the water and see who bites it. And it's very cost effective too, only $250 for 5 countries. If we have to translate it for you, it's an additional $100. Let me just say that we are public service. We're the federal government. We pay our overhead for your tax dollars. We're happy to help you. However, we have a mandate where we have to recover at least some of our costs in terms of doing these services for you. If it's something that we just give out to everyone, we don't charge for it. But if it's something that we have to customize for you, specifically for you, and we have to exert people hours to do that digging for you, then we have to charge for it. Another good thing about our Fuse program that I just mentioned is that Google ranks you according to the number of reputable websites that you're linked to. And so if you're linked to a federal government website, that automatically boosts you to a higher level. So that's a nice side effect of that. The next thing that we do is matchmaking. We do that in a number of ways. We have high-level trade missions to other countries, often headed by Mr. Undersecretary Sánchez and other senior leaders of the federal government. Typically, these will contain 10 to 15 business leaders, and they get to meet very high-level government officials in that particular country or more than one country. This can be a cost-effective way for a company to get high-level exposure for their product or service. Another thing that we do is we bring delegations of foreign buyers to American trade shows. Just last weekend, I was at the International Franchise Expo. I'm on the franchising team. And basically what happened is my colleagues from Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Czech Republic, and Turkey brought delegations of interested foreign buyers to the International Franchise Expo. These were committed investors who were looking to buy American franchises. So these franchise companies didn't even have to leave New York City to find possible international investors. We do that with other major trade shows as well. That's listed on our website, the foreign buyer delegations that we bring. In addition to that, we have major representation in overseas trade shows. For many years, I was on the information technology team, and we were at the CeBIT show in Hanover, which is one of the world's largest electronics shows. And basically what we did was we did matchmaking at the show for the people who exhibited with us, and we were able to carve the booth space down to a smaller size so smaller companies could afford to exhibit there. And I have one client in particular on Long Island. They started out in an incubator, and they exhibited with us at CeBIT, and now they have a full-time person who handles Europe, and they've tripled in size, and they have much more international business. It was a result of the great beginning that they had to see the trade show. A couple of other things that we do, matchmaking on a smaller scale. We have something called the Gold Key Service, which is one of our most popular program. You could call this your personalized one-company trade mission. Basically what we do is we set up appointments for you in the country with companies or representatives that we've pre-qualified on your behalf with your company literature based on your criteria. And we will consult with you on an ongoing basis with this service to make sure that these companies are an exact fit for you. And the person who does this pre-qualification for you is the industry specialist in that country. Let's say, once again, we go back to telecom. Your telecommunications company, the locally hired industry specialist who may have been working with us for 20 years to learn all there is to know about the telecommunications market will open their electronic Rolodex and find all the reputable companies that might have an interest. And then that trade specialist will go to the office or contact the person directly and say, I have this company, they're very good, this is what they're all about, would you like to meet with them? And if the answer is yes, they go on the list. So we're not just throwing you in the direction of companies and they've never heard of you when you show up at the door. These are companies that are already interested in meeting with you and have heard all about you. We like to call ourselves door openers. We open the door for you. It's mostly up to you to follow through after. If you don't have the the time or the financial wherewithal to actually go to that country and be escorted around to your appointments by the industry specialist who made those appointments for you, we have something called the International Partner Search. The International Partner Search is kind of a remote control version of that. Instead of set up meetings for you, we'll provide you with a list with all the contact information. You know, these are warm leads. Once again, they're waiting to hear from you. But we always recommend that you go there as soon as possible and look them face to face and shake their hand, because frankly there's no substitute for that in international business. In fact, one of our offices in Mexico, if I can give an example, refuses to do this service because they say nobody's going to take you seriously unless you're physically in the country. So we could provide you with a list and they'll never return your phone calls and they won't return your emails because they don't think you're committed. You have to physically go there. And I would actually say that, you know, if you're really interested in the country, make some time, you know, and you should be going there. Another thing that we do is advocacy. People like my colleague Tanya Cole actively advocate on behalf of American companies bidding on major procurements overseas. Let's say you're an engineering company and you're bidding on a major project in a particular country that Tanya's in, she'll help you. And my colleague Brian Irwin, who's based in Washington, he helms the Advocacy Center, which is the nerve center, the clearinghouse for all major projects that are bid overseas. And if there's a major project that you're bidding on, Brian will get right on it, and he will contact someone like Tanya overseas, and they will get to work on sitting down with the foreign government representative who is involved in procurement, saying, look, we want you to support American companies as you support other foreign bidders. And you may or may not know, you probably do know that some of our trading partners recognize the importance of global trade to an extreme extent, and they will do whatever is necessary to help their companies get the procurement. And at least, you know, if we're involved and you know, our senior commercial attaché or the ambassador delivers a letter, perhaps from the Secretary of Commerce or perhaps from Undersecretary Sánchez underlining the importance of American companies, at least we believe they'll get a fair shake. Let me tell you a little bit what I do. If you want to come to me, you don't have an export strategy in place, I can help you out with that. I can help you determine what markets would be best for you, what business model might be best for you in terms of your international expansion. I can let you know what options are available, and I can get you in touch with my colleagues like Tom Cummings or Tony Corsini from SBA and let you know about all the financing options that are available. And I can be your ongoing contact person. We consider this to be a client relationship. It's ongoing, so it's my job to make sure that you get started well in the process, that continues well, and that you're happy. I'm just a phone call away. Call me, and I'd be happy to help you. And just to let you know, I have some handouts here that you can take. And we're currently based on the campus of SUNY Old Westboro. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chapter. Next, we will hear from Tom Cummings from the Export-Import Bank. As you heard, we just recently reauthorized the Export-Import Bank. It was much more controversial than I think a great many of us expected, but we have reauthorized it, and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Congressman. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Congressman, for setting this up today. I know many people probably are not aware of the Export-Import Bank, who we are, or what we do. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to tell you a little bit about us. From a history standpoint, we were actually established in 1934 by President Roosevelt as a way to help the country get out of a depression by exporting products around the world. We're a fairly small government agency with just about 400 employees. So we actually have an office right here in New York, which we have 4 employees. We're one of 5 regional offices, which will be expanded out to 9 later on during the month of July. We are also a self-sustaining agency, so all of the fees that we charge for the services that we provide fully cover our operations, and we're able to actually return some money back to the U.S. Treasury. But mainly what we do is 3 basic products. We start with a pre-export working capital product, where we try to provide a guarantee to a lender because they may not feel comfortable in supporting a company's export sales. Maybe because the company is new, maybe because they're growing rapidly, or maybe just because of the countries they're doing business in. But if the bank is not willing to look at the loan, we'll take a look and provide often a guarantee to the bank. Our guarantee generally covers 90% principal and interest, so that Ex-Im takes 90% of the risk, the commercial bank takes 10% of the risk. The second product we have is an export credit insurance product, which protects against the risk of non-payment by foreign debtors. Now, most companies today, if they're looking to sell overseas, one of the biggest concerns they always have is, how am I going to get paid? Well, isn't it a great idea to have an insurance against the risk of not getting paid? It covers both political risks as well as commercial risks, so that if a buyer doesn't make payment in a foreign country, you can actually make a claim on the Export-Import Bank. We'll make the claim payment, and then we'll take action against the foreign debtor in hopes of recovering the debt. The third product we have is what we call a financial guarantee. And generally what we're doing is we're providing either the exporter or a commercial bank with a guarantee of repayment on medium or long-term transactions. So let's take a typical transaction. The company here today wins an order for $1 million going to a buyer in Brazil. But the buyer is looking for a 5-year repayment term. And most of the companies say, oh, I couldn't do that. So maybe you'll talk to your commercial bank, and they say, we'd be willing to finance this transaction. Why is this beneficial to yourselves? Well, as the U.S. exporter, you're able to win the sale. At the same time, your buyer in the foreign country is able to get the financing that they need to make this a good sale. It's a very good transaction. And the third way, wouldn't you rather get paid by a major U.S. commercial bank right here in the United States and not take on any foreign buyer repayment risk? So it's a really good transaction for the U.S. exporter. For the foreign importer, they're able to borrow at U.S. commercial bank interest rates. So if they're in Brazil, instead of paying that 12 and 15% interest rate, they're going to get single-digit interest rates here in the United States. And if you take that $1 million sale over 5 years, the difference between 7% and 12 or 15%, this is a pretty significant difference. Now, why would a commercial bank want to finance transactions like this? Well, number one, regardless of what you hear about commercial banks, they actually do try to work with their clients. So they're able to support a client, they're able to make a small spread on the loan, the difference between their cost of funds and the price in which that they're lending out the money. And then at the same time, they apply to Ex-Im Bank for a guarantee of repayment. Our guarantee to them covers 100% principal and interest. So if you can make a loan, support a client, and not take on any of the associated repayment risk, that's a very good deal for you as well. So who's the winners here? The U.S. exporter, the foreign buyer, and the commercial bank that's financing the transaction. One of the things we found recently was that we found that there is some voids in the marketplace. And we went out to several banks and we said, what size loans are you guys looking to do? And for the most part, most of the commercial banks wanted to do loans in excess of $1 million. I'm talking about working capital loans. But we found that there was a big void where a lot of companies, they weren't up to the point where they needed to borrow $1 million. Maybe they needed $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. So we just came out with a new product called Global Credit Express, which is a working capital loan, but the loan is actually done directly by Ex-Im. So we're providing a loan directly to the U.S. exporter in support of their export activity.